Hello again, everybody. So this is my new colony, the one that's going to replace the main colony eventually. I tried to count them. I think there's about 18 workers. And most importantly, a lot of larvae. And now, because I gave them another feed after the one that I showed you, they've had another insect. So now a lot of well-fed larvae. Um, so what I decided to do today was I thought, let's give them an outworld. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to answer a load of questions which I have seen asked. Every one of these questions I've seen asked, and hopefully this will answer a load of questions which people might have. So first of all, when can I give my ants an outworld? And the answer is about this size, 20 workers is fine. Normally, and this answers the second question, normally they operate with approximately 10% of the workers going out and about into an outworld. Now, they can do a thing called recruiting. So a worker can come back and wave some pheromones around in the nest and say, I found food urgent, I need help. And more than 10% can then come out for a specific task. But your basic explorers and foragers tend to be around the 10% mark. So with a colony of 20, I would expect to see 2 of them basically out and about exploring, which, like I said, answers another question I see asked, which is, why do I not see my ants coming out? Well, most of the colony will stay with the brood. Only a very small amount will actually go out and about. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're behaving normally. So what I decided to do was I decided to put the test tube directly into the outworld, just because it saves space. They're only a small colony. They don't need a big outworld, which answers another question. Your outworld size doesn't actually matter. It's your nest size that matters. You mustn't give them too big a nest, but you can give them a great big outworld if you want. Just don't put the food on the opposite side of a great big outworld, because a very small colony might not go very far from home. So put the food close, but if you want to put them into a big tank because that's all you've got, it won't matter. Next, do not just open up the test tube. If you're going to put a test tube into an outworld like I've done here, do not just open up the test tube to the elements, because what that does is it lets all the humidity out of the tube, and it also makes your ants feel insecure. They've got their little home, they've got their brood, and there's an open front door. And small ant colonies, especially at this stage, they're terrified, because if another Lasius niger colony finds them, or any other type of predator, they're going to very, very easily deal with a very small colony like this. So an open front door, it just scares them, and that will stress them. They might stop producing broods. All sorts of bad things can happen. So if you are going to open up the test tube, narrow the entrance down. What I do is I use silicone drinking straws. This isn't the cheap plastic that cracks if you squash it. It's more like a sort of rubbery substance. You can still find them in supermarkets. Go to the party section where you can get the paper plates and all that, and you should find silicone drinking straws. And then I stuff it with cotton wool. And what I did this time, I made sure the straw was actually touching the glass of the test tube, so it's right down the bottom, and just put the cotton wool over the top. So that creates them a narrow down entrance. And I've also sprinkled a little bit of sand around in this new outworld. So if they wanted to, they can get some sand and they can plug it up even more. So they'll deal with that now. That's nice for them. And then, yes, just pop the test tube in the outworld. I've put a little bit of folded cardboard over the top so it's in darkness. It doesn't technically matter with Lasius niger. They'll get used to and live in light. You can actually leave them exposed. I've left colonies completely exposed, from a founding queen right up to living in a test tube, covered them with nothing, and they've done fine. But it just makes them feel that little bit safer again, makes them feel more secure. You don't want to unnecessarily stress them out. Make it as easy, because I want this colony to grow, so I want to make it as good as I can for them. I put a water test tube into their outworld just in case they don't like the water in their test tube. If I see a lot of ants going into that water test tube, I might think about offering them a proper replacement test tube, because that one hasn't got enough room in it, really. I mean, if the Queen were to move into there, I'd definitely know that there's some problem with their test tube. And then it's a bit boring, really. I just chucked a few sticks and stones, nothing major. Gave them a small little bit of sugar in the Outworld, and yes, an ant was out and about within 2 minutes, but she only did. I hadn't even focused the camera, as you can see. She was just out and about and back in, and then I didn't see anything from them for about half an hour. And then after half an hour, indeed, there are two of them which are fairly actively exploring. They keep going back inside, but then maybe 10 minutes later they'll come back out. One of them was drinking the sugar. And yes, what I've said, I mean, you are going to have to hibernate your Lasius niger at the end of October, start of November, and they'll basically be in a fridge or an outhouse or something and be very, very, well, not very inactive, totally inactive, all huddled up in the test tube. Probably will hibernate them in the test tube. But I know that new keepers are wanting to see something. They're wanting to see a colony, and they're very impatient. But this, if you put a test tube like this in an Outworld, you've got 2 months now. If you've got workers like I have, you've got September and October. You can watch your ants, and this colony's going to grow. I think we can get up, I mean, 20, I think they've got 18 odd ants right now. I think we can get to 40 or 50 ants if we're lucky. 40, definitely, there's a lot of larvae, 50 maybe. Before hibernation, which means later on in October there'll be a few more of them out and about, and you can watch them a little bit now, and it's always fun to watch them doing things for the very first time. Anyway, I've gone on enough, but hopefully I've sort of explained to people that are new when and how you can gently introduce a new colony to an Outworld, and it makes them much easier to feed if you can just drop food into an Outworld rather than trying to open up a test tube and everything. So yeah, there we go, and I'll keep reporting on the progress as we go. Thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.